Today, we're reliving one of the greatest rivalries of all time. Today, we're holding the WWE Championship like it's our own. Today, we are talking about the main event of Night of Champions in Saudi Arabia. We are talking about one of the greatest rivalries of all time for the WWE Championship. We are talking about CM Punk versus John Cena. The best in the world versus the greatest of all time. This is going to be a long one, folks, because there is a lot of history between Phil Brooks and John Cena. The kid from West Newbury and the kid from Chicago have been banging out classics since 2009, and we are going to talk about every last ounce of history that these two have between one another, because this is the one final time we are getting John Cena and CM Punk in a wrestling ring, and it's going to be in Saudi Arabia at Night of Champions. The WWE pulling out the final stop for CM Punk and John Cena very early, even though it's midway through John Cena's final WWE farewell tour. He's only got 18 dates left remaining. By the time this match is over, it'll probably be down to 15 or 14 heading into SummerSlam. My guess is that this is going to be the one and only John Cena versus CM Punk match that we are getting in this farewell tour. I hope I'm pleasantly surprised and I'm wrong. Hopefully we see another match, maybe at SummerSlam, maybe more down the line towards December, towards the end of this John Cena farewell tour. But regardless, we're going to enjoy every last second of it. I want to start at the very beginning of this feud and of this rivalry. John Cena and CM Punk at one point in time were two fan favorites like they are today in 2025. CM Punk, the up-and-coming star from ECW and Ring of Honor. John Cena, the face that runs the place. He was already like a 5 to 6, 7-time WWE champion by the time Punk got to WWE. CM Punk and John Cena did not cross paths with one another, I believe, until 2009, if I'm not mistaken, maybe a little bit beforehand. If you really want to go back in time, it was in 2007, WrestleMania 22 in Chicago, Illinois, when John Cena took on Triple H for the WWE Championship, as CM Punk so eloquently put it in that promo with John Cena in Boston, Massachusetts in 2011. John, I was riding in the back of your gangster truck, WrestleMania 22, holding a fake Tommy gun, telling myself, not only am I going to not be in this holding a fake Tommy gun in this gangster car, but I'm going to be in the ring facing off against John Cena, and I'm going to be beating John Cena, which he ultimately did 1 week later after cutting that promo. But that was the first time CM Punk and John Cena, I guess, technically crossed paths, when CM Punk was riding in the back of John Cena's gangster truck at WrestleMania 22 during his entrance as an extra. They wouldn't face off one-on-one, as far as I know, until the Slammy Awards in 2009, I believe. John Cena, who would have been embroiled in a feud with Sheamus at that point in time. CM Punk had just started the Straight Edge Society. That was after his third and final World Heavyweight Championship run, after retiring Jeff Hardy, or so we thought. At that point in time, he had his rivalry and his feud with The Undertaker, where he lost the World Heavyweight Championship. This was kind of in the meat and potatoes of that Straight Edge Society. And CM Punk and John Cena would finish that match, I believe, in a disqualification. I believe Sheamus got involved. Correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe John Cena picked up the pinfall victory over CM Punk. We're going to have to go back and check the facts. I'm going to say that John Cena picked up the victory because John Cena was the number one babyface. CM Punk was one of the top villains on SmackDown at that time. And then they really wouldn't cross paths feud-wise until late 2010, early 2011, when CM Punk hit John Cena over the back with a steel chair after John Cena beat Dolph Ziggler in a match on Monday Night Raw. This was the Raw after TLC, in which John Cena finally got rid of his demons. He finally beat Wade Barrett of the Nexus by putting him through a table. I think he put a table on top of him, and then he smashed about 32 different ladders, or 32 steel chairs, onto Wade Barrett's back, and that put him out of action for a little while. And then CM Punk felt like John Cena was a bully. He felt like he was a fraud. He felt like he was lying to each and every single member of the WWE Universe, which, dude, 15 years later, CM Punk was right. CM Punk was always right, man. The pipe bomb promo, what he said about John Cena, what he said about Dwayne Johnson, what he said about Vince McMahon. We do this whole bully campaign at him, and then his microphone cut off. Who knows what he was going to say? Maybe it had something to do with Vince McMahon and what turned out to be a Vince McMahon later on in WWE in 2022, 2023, and 2024. But John Cena and CM Punk would have their first feud in late 2010 when CM Punk decided to hit John Cena with a GTS, put on the Nexus arm badge, and salute to the Nexus. Remember the Nexus? Wade Barrett, David Otunga, Justin Gabriel, Heath Slater, Husky Harris, the late great Bray Wyatt, Skip Sheffield, who we now know as the Ryback, Daniel Bryan at one point in time, Darren Young. Am I forgetting anybody in the Nexus? There were a lot of members in the Nexus at one period of time. CM Punk would take on that group. Michael McGillicuddy would join later on. Yeah, I mean, they had a whole hell of a lot of members. I mean, they had to split them up between the Nexus and the Core, because remember, CM Punk and Wade Barrett didn't really get along in the Nexus, so Wade Barrett built the Core, CM Punk built the remaining members of the Nexus, and CM Punk and John Cena would go on to feud towards the Royal Rumble, with CM Punk entering the Royal Rumble at number 1. He would then use the Nexus, the Husky Harrises of the world, the Michael McGillicuddies of the world, the David Otungas, the Heath Slaters, to kind of do his bidding in that match. They eliminated everybody. They eliminated Daniel Bryan. They eliminated Booker T. They eliminated everybody. And then John Cena came to the ring and eliminated each and every single member of the Nexus in that Royal Rumble match. And that was kind of the end of that short feud between CM Punk and John Cena. And that was just a taste of what we were going to get later on in 2011 between the two, because CM Punk would go on to feud with Randy Orton, John Cena would go on to feud with The Miz. But then after John Cena beat The Miz for the WWE Championship and he took care of R-Truth, CM Punk was back after he had beat John Cena in a one-on-one match, the Raw before Capital Punishment on All-Star Night when Stone Cold Steve Austin was hosting. CM Punk, that's when CM Punk and Stone Cold had their confrontation backstage. CM Punk saying, "Can you spell the alphabet backwards, Steve?" And Steve was like, "I can whip your ass backwards." Best line Stone Cold Steve Austin ever said to CM Punk in a WWE television program. CM Punk would beat John Cena before his match with R-Truth, which in CM Punk's eyes earned him the number 1 contendership match. CM Punk would then have to go on to earn it again in a triple threat match with Alberto Del Rio and Rey Mysterio. And that's when we got John Cena versus CM Punk set for the WWE Championship in CM Punk's hometown of Chicago, Illinois at WWE, the second annual Money in the Bank pay-per-view. And 3 weeks before that match, John Cena was taking on R-Truth in a tables match. It was Raw Roulette in Las Vegas, Nevada at MGM Grand Arena. And CM Punk decided to stick his nose in John Cena's business, allowing R-Truth to pick up the win in a tables match. And that's when everything in the history of professional wrestling changed for the better. Because CM Punk, in his Stone Cold Steve Austin t-shirt, would grab that microphone, head up to the top of the ramp, sit down in his crisscross applesauce position, and ask John Cena, "Are you comfortable, John? Are you comfortable? Because before I leave in 3 weeks with your WWE Championship, I have a lot of things I want to get off my chest." And boy, did he ever. Phil Brooks, known as CM Punk, would drop what is now known as the pipe bomb promo in Las Vegas, Nevada, on that Monday night in late June 2011, telling John Cena he's not as good of an ass kisser as Dwayne Johnson was. He was better than Hulk Hogan, but John Cena was as good as kissing Vince's ass as Hulk Hogan was. Not as good as Dwayne, though. Dwayne is and still is a pretty good ass kisser. And then he waved to the camera, "Whoops, I'm breaking the fourth wall." And that's when CM Punk said, "I don't hate you because I hate you. I don't hate you because of a lot of guys that hate you. I hate you because I hate this idea that you're the best, because you're not. I'm the best. I'm the best in the world." And that's when CM Punk first used that signature, best in the world. Remember, Chris Jericho used it in the past. Bret the Hitman Hart, the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be. But CM Punk touting himself as the best in the world for the first time ever that night on Monday Night Raw. He would then go on to say he's grabbed so many of Vincent K. McMahon's imaginary brass rings that they're just that, completely imaginary. He's never been on Jimmy Fallon. He's never been on Conan O'Brien. He's certainly never been on any crappy show on the USA Network. People hated CM Punk because Paul Heyman saw something in him that nobody else wanted to admit. And that's the first time we heard the name Paul Heyman on WWE television in nearly 5 years, because Paul Heyman was fired in 2006. He was gone from 2006 to 2012. CM Punk then says his name, and he's like, that's right, I'm a Paul Heyman guy. You know who else was a Paul Heyman guy? And this is another guy that hasn't been heard on camera in nearly 7 years at that point. Brock Lesnar. And Brock Lesnar split just like Punk was splitting, but the biggest difference between Punk and Brock was that Punk was going to leave with the WWE Championship, and that's when CM Punk really got personal with the McMahon family. He talked about douchebag yes men like John Laurinaitis telling Vince everything that he ever wanted to hear, and that he'd like to think that maybe this company would be better after Vince McMahon's dead. But the fact of the matter is, it's just going to get taken over by his idiotic daughter and his doofus son-in-law and the rest of his stupid family. Let me tell you a personal story about Vince McMahon. We do this whole bully campaign ad, and that's when the microphone cuts out. That's when CM Punk had finally said enough to where Vince McMahon was like, cut his microphone. He's going into dark waters now. And who knows what really CM Punk was going to say about Vince McMahon right there. I mean, I think he was going to go into kind of a spiel about how Vince McMahon's probably the biggest bully himself. Probably would have kept it PG. But who really knows? Because Phil Brooks was going on a tangent. He was saying some pretty personal stuff, getting under the skin of Vince McMahon. And that would result in CM Punk, kayfabe-wise, getting immediately and indefinitely suspended from WWE programming. The next week on Monday Night Raw, the match was canceled between Punk and Cena. Alberto Del Rio to win a number one contenders match. Then it was Cena versus Del Rio at Money in the Bank. But then John Cena had a confrontation with Vince McMahon in the ring. He told Vince McMahon, I want to face CM Punk at Money in the Bank. And if you're not going to let Punk win, then you've lost all respect for me and you've lost all respect for this title. He hands the title to Vince McMahon. Vince is like, are you going to walk out on me just like the rest of them, just like Brett, just like Stone Cold Steve Austin, just like The Rock, you're walking out? And then Vince was like, fine. Follows Cena up the ramp and says, I hate that this has come between us, but it has. CM Punk's reinstated, you've got your match. And that's when he looks John Cena dead in the eyes and says, wipe that smile off your face. You better hope you win, because if CM Punk walks out with that championship, I'm going to come right down that ring, look you right in your face and say, John Cena, as Vince McMahon always so eloquently puts it, you're fired. John Cena versus CM Punk was set for Money in the Bank after CM Punk got suspended and reinstated. And this is my favorite part personally, because I was there, 11 years old, TD Garden in Boston, Massachusetts. CM Punk comes to the ring with a megaphone saying, I brought backup just in case they cut my microphone off. CM Punk says that this company inside and outside the ring are filled with a parade of shameless ass kissers. And he said that he'd like to think that Vince McMahon can join something that he likes to call the CM Punk Kiss My Ass Club. And that's when John Cena's music hit. They have a mini confrontation before the end of the night where CM Punk and Vince McMahon have their contract negotiation in the ring. It is still the only live contract negotiation in the ring between a WWE executive and a WWE superstar. The outspoken CM Punk and the chairman of the board, Vince McMahon. Vincent Kennedy McMahon would apologize to CM Punk. This would be the night that he dubbed the voice of the voiceless signature. We got the best in the world signature in Las Vegas. We got the voice of the voiceless and the ice cream bar t-shirt and the ice cream bar idea to bring back the WWE ice cream bars. That was that night in Boston as well. Vince McMahon said, I apologize, you son of a bitch. Better than winning the world title 3 times. Vince McMahon just apologized to CM Punk. And that's when John Cena came out. He said Punk, he respected him for beating to his own drum, but that he lost sight of everything. And then that's when Punk did what he ultimately would have done last Monday night on Raw in Phoenix. He compared him to the New York Yankees, saying, you're like Boston. You're a Bostonian like the rest of the people here. Just like the Patriots are the underdog. Just like the Red Sox are the underdog. Just like the Bruins. How about them Celtics? John Cena was not the underdog. CM Punk was the underdog in this situation. CM Punk was the Boston Red Sox. John Cena was what he hated. He was the 10-time WWE champion. You're the man. Ladies and gentlemen, the champ is here. You, like the Red Sox, are no longer the underdog. You're a dynasty. You are what you hate. You have become the New York Yankees. And that's when John Cena blasts CM Punk in the face with a punch to the nose. CM Punk rips up the contract that Vince had signed for Punk, promising a ridiculous amount of things, his own jet. CM Punk forks, knives, spoons, napkins. CM Punk the movie, bringing back the ice cream bars, saying that he can push CM Punk, or he can push Vince McMahon around whenever he wanted, saying, Vince, I'll kick you in the nuts and you'll smile at me and like it and show me some respect. One of my favorite lines in the history of pro wrestling right there, him telling off his boss. And as an 11-year-old kid in the crowd, I loved every second of it, and it's still why I watch pro wrestling today, ladies and gentlemen. But that set up CM Punk versus John Cena in Chicago, Illinois for the greatest Money in the Bank match of all time. Back and forth, high intensity, probably the most electric WWE match that they had since, I don't want to really say like that, the early 2000s. WrestleMania 21, 22, 23, when Cena was taking on Triple H and Shawn Michaels. But it had been a long time since we got that atmosphere that we got that night at the Allstate Arena. I remember watching it live on pay-per-view. John Laurinaitis calling for the bell. John Cena knocking out John Laurinaitis. John telling Vince, you're not going to do it your way, we're going to do it my way. Punk hits the GTS, gets the 1, 2, 3, and CM Punk wins the WWE Championship and walks out with the championship like he said that he was going to on the final night of his contract, blows the kiss goodbye to Vince McMahon, heads up the gate and the into the stands, and walks out of Chicago and walks out of the Allstate Arena. We saw the footage of him walking out of the Allstate Arena with the WWE Championship. For the first time ever, there was no WWE Champion. Vince McMahon came out on Raw the next night with the intent to fire John Cena. Triple H returned for the first time ever as an executive, announcing that he was the chief operating officer of WWE and that Vince McMahon's day-to-day operations of running the company were no longer required. Vince, you are relieved of your duties, he said. And that started the whole Triple H as an authority figure era, because he was the 14-time world champion. He was a 13-time world champion at that point, just as a wrestler. This was the executive Triple H taking over. And as his first act of being an executive as the COO, Triple H re-signs CM Punk. CM Punk came out to This Fire Burns by Killswitch Engage for the first 6 years of his WWE career. Not anymore. John Cena wins a tournament. Or Rey Mysterio won the tournament to become the new WWE champion. The new paper champion, as CM Punk would say, after Punk had left and they had to create a new WWE championship. John Cena would beat Rey Mysterio the next week on Raw. And after he had won that title, you hear the static, you hear Cult of Personality by Living Colour. Most wrestling fans didn't understand why Cult of Personality was playing. John Cena didn't understand why Cult of Personality was playing. But if you're a diehard fan of CM Punk, you understand why Cult of Personality was playing. That's what he came out to early on in his career in the Indies. And CM Punk is back in the WWE with Cult of Personality as the best in the world and as the WWE champion. And that's when John Cena and CM Punk would have their rematch for Money in the Bank. This time for the undisputed WWE Championship. Triple H is the special guest referee. It was WWE Champion John Cena versus the WWE Champion CM Punk. One match, one winner, one undisputed WWE Champion. And just like he always does, because he's always had his number, CM Punk would beat John Cena again. This time in a more controversial finish, because John Cena's foot was on the bottom rope. Triple H counted the 1, 2, 3, but he missed that John Cena's foot was on the bottom rope. Punk gets his hand raised by Triple H, and then he gets stuck by Kevin Nash. Hits him with the clothesline. Big Daddy Cool Diesel then hits him with the jackknife powerbomb. Alberto Del Rio, who won the Raw Money in the Bank ladder match that year to cash in on a WWE champion, cashes in on CM Punk that night to become the brand new undisputed WWE champion. And that was the last of CM Punk's WWE championship reign for at least a few months, because then CM Punk would have to go on and face Triple H at Night of Champions in a no disqualification match with Triple H's role as COO on the line. John Cena would go on to face Alberto Del Rio and win that WWE championship back. CM Punk would get his rematch 2 weeks after Night of Champions, but so would Alberto Del Rio, as John Cena, CM Punk, and Alberto Del Rio would face off inside Hell in a Cell in the first ever Hell in a Cell triple threat match for the WWE title. Del Rio would end up pinning Punk after Cena was locked out of the cage, and then Miz and R-Truth got in the cage as well and beat the crap out of Punk. They beat the crap out of Del Rio. They beat the crap out of Cena. They beat the crap out of every referee, every cameraman. They beat the crap out of Triple H. That was a whole thing with Awesome Truth, the Miz and R-Truth at that point. John Cena would then go on to get his rematch for the WWE Championship against Del Rio at Vengeance. CM Punk and Triple H faced Awesome Truth. And then at Survivor Series, CM Punk would go on to win the WWE Championship against Alberto Del Rio for the final time in his WWE career to this date at Survivor Series. That was day one of a 434-day title reign. CM Punk was a face, John Cena was a face, so they went on different trajectories for about a year. John Cena would go on to face Kane. CM Punk would go on to face Dolph Ziggler. John Cena would go on to face The Rock. CM Punk would go on to face Chris Jericho. John Cena would go on to face The Big Show. CM Punk would go on to face Daniel Bryan, so on and so forth, until the summer came around and CM Punk was sick of still being in the backseat to John Cena. CM Punk was the WWE champion at that point for over 200 days. But on every single pay-per-view, he was still taking a backseat to John Cena. As the WWE champion, CM Punk was not main eventing pay-per-views. John Cena was. CM Punk faced Daniel Bryan in a one-on-one technical wrestling match for the WWE Championship, and John Cena was still in the main event against John frickin' Laurinaitis, man. That's how over John Cena was to Vince McMahon, and not CM Punk. So finally, Raw 1000 hits. John Cena takes on CM Punk. John Cena wins the Money in the Bank contract. CM Punk's still the WWE champion. So we have babyface CM Punk versus babyface John Cena in the main event of the 1000th episode of Monday Night Raw on the USA Network. The Big Show gets involved. John Cena becomes the first ever man to cash in Money in the Bank and not win the title. The Rock comes out because it's Raw 1000, and of course The Rock has to be there. He just beat John Cena at WrestleMania. The Rock comes out, does his whole shtick, goes for the people's elbow against The Big Show, and that's when CM Punk has had enough of his babyface run, clotheslines The Rock, turns heel, hits him with the GTS, and that would set up John Cena, CM Punk, and The Big Show at SummerSlam. CM Punk really hadn't fully turned heel at that time, but you knew it was coming, because he feel like he lacked respect from John Cena, he lacked respect from The Big Show, he lacked respect from The Rock. CM Punk would go on to win that triple threat match after John Cena hit an AA on The Big Show. CM Punk threw John Cena out of the ring, gets the 1-2-3, retains the WWE Championship. CM Punk then demands respect from John Cena, tells him to call him the best in the world. John Cena throws away a WWE Championship match and doesn't call him the best in the world. He then tells Jerry Lawler to get in the ring and call him the best in the world. Jerry Lawler says, "I can't do that. Now let me go do my job." Jerry Lawler turns around, gets kicked in the head by CM Punk, and that's the night CM Punk officially turned heel as a WWE champion. Because the next week, Raw was in Chicago. CM Punk attacked Jerry Lawler, so he wasn't on the commentary desk. And this was right before Jerry Lawler had a real-life heart attack on Monday Night Raw as well. Key part of that story. He's alive and well today, ladies and gentlemen. Long live the King, Jerry the King Lawler. CM Punk on Monday Night Raw in his hometown of Chicago, Illinois, took the night off as a heel. The biggest heel thing you can do in front of your hometown crowd that loves you endlessly. You take the night off because it was Labor Day. He comes back at the end of the night. John Cena's taking on Alberto Del Rio in a Falls Count Anywhere match. Kicks John Cena in the head, gives Del Rio the win. CM Punk drives off into the sunset as the WWE champion, but before he drives off, John Cena's dead carcass right there. And who's driving the car that CM Punk's in? the guy that he said he was the guy of in his pipe bomb promo. That's right, Paul Heyman, who had returned earlier that year in 2012 to be the advocate for the returning Brock Lesnar. And again, that is key in that pipe bomb promo. CM Punk talked about how Vince McMahon was a bully. That came true in 2022. We all knew it, but it came to light in 2022. He said that John Cena wasn't the best, that Punk was the best. The fans resonated with it. He said he was a Paul Heyman guy. Paul Heyman hadn't returned at that point. He returns 8 months later. He talks about Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar hadn't returned at that point. Brock Lesnar returns the night after WrestleMania 28. He talks about WWE letting very talented people go like Mick Foley. Mick Foley would return a few weeks later. Guys like Batista. Batista would return just 3 years later. Guys like Chris Jericho. He would return 8 months later to take on CM Punk for the title at WrestleMania 28. Everything that Punk said in that pipe bomb promo came true. And now CM Punk is officially a Paul Heyman guy on WWE TV. They put Punk and Heyman together, and I believe Paul Heyman told the story about Punk being like, I can't believe they're putting us together. We're both going to be fired within 2 weeks, but it's going to be a hell of a ride. Punk and Heyman were the two biggest heels on Monday Night Raw of the WWE Championship from September all the way to about April or May when CM Punk took his hiatus after losing to The Undertaker at WrestleMania 29. But John Cena and CM Punk, with Paul Heyman by his side, would go one-on-one at Night of Champions in 2012. A great back-and-forth match, just like every single John Cena versus CM Punk match. AA kick-out, GTS kick-out, AA kick-out, GTS kick-out, before John Cena finally hit a suplex off the top rope. 1, 2, 3. Both competitors' shoulders were on the mat. But John Cena is announced as the new WWE Champion. Chad Patton, the referee, would quickly change his decision, saying both competitors' shoulders hit the mat, which means this contest ends in a draw. Therefore, still your WWE Champion, CM Punk. And that was in John Cena's hometown of Boston, Massachusetts. CM Punk blasts John Cena over the head with the title. And now CM Punk is a full-fledged bald heel. Shaves his head, would go on to face Ryback, would go on to face John Cena and Ryback at Survivor Series. John Cena is pinned by CM Punk in that match at Survivor Series as Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and Dean Ambrose as the Shield debuted that night to take out Ryback. And that was pretty much the end of that rivalry up until Dallas, Texas, about 6 weeks before WrestleMania 29. CM Punk had finally lost the WWE Championship to Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson at the Royal Rumble. He lost his rematch to Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson at Elimination Chamber. So it was John Cena who won the Royal Rumble that year, who finally gets his rematch against Dwayne Johnson. Remember, The Rock beat John Cena at WrestleMania 28. John Cena gets his rematch against The Rock, this time for the WWE Championship at WrestleMania 29 at East Rutherford, New Jersey, MetLife Stadium. CM Punk was like, nah, I'm the best in the world. I deserve to face The Rock one more time. At that point, John Cena had not only beaten The Rock, but he had never beaten CM Punk in a high-leverage situation. John Cena puts his number one contendership and his Royal Rumble win on the line against CM Punk to face The Rock at WrestleMania in a match on Raw, in which, in my opinion, and in Phil Brooks' opinion, is the greatest John Cena versus CM Punk match of all time. John Cena versus CM Punk at Money in the Bank will go down as an instant classic, and that's going to be the match everybody remembers from Cena and Punk. They faced off at SummerSlam in a pretty good match. They faced off at Night of Champions in a pretty good match. John Cena versus CM Punk for the number one contendership on Monday Night Raw in Dallas, Texas in 2013. It had multiple GTSs, multiple AAs. It wasn't even a package pile driver. CM Punk hit a freaking pile driver on John Cena, to which Vince McMahon yelled at both of them after the match, saying, you can never hit a pile driver on WWE television again. This is when CM Punk was losing his passion for the business and just didn't give a shit anymore. CM Punk hits the pile driver on Cena in that match. John Cena hits a Hurricane Rana on CM Punk in that match, and then he hits the AA and finally beats CM Punk in a high-leverage match, in a clean match on Monday Night Raw, and that was John Cena's one true victory over CM Punk in their entire career. And that was the last time ever, John Cena went one-on-one with CM Punk in February of 2013. It is now June of 2025. It has been nearly 12 years. John Cena versus CM Punk one final time in Saudi Arabia, of all places. I'm not a fan of it, but it's going to happen for this WWE Championship, the greatest of all time, versus the best in the world, CM Punk. Who do you guys think is walking out with the WWE Championship at Night of Champions?